All right, let's stay, in fact, with the issues around safety in the Eastern Cape. We speak to the provincial transport spokesperson, Unathi Binqose. A very good evening to you, Unathi, and thank you so much for your time. Happy New Year to you. And I know the department has been hard at work to try and deal with some of the issues of safety on the roads. A horrific accident, for example, claiming the lives of 9 people on the R61 in the Eastern Cape. Let's speak about how things are looking on the roads.
Although that was not bad enough, Bongiwe, we woke up to the news that 2 more people had died in another accident happening this time between East London and Groningen. It's young people who had decided to move from Groningen, which is some 60 kilometers away, to East London to continue with the festivities of welcoming in the new year. We're told that they wanted to be in by sunrise, so they can usher in the new year from this side, having been at a club in Groningen. And unfortunately, within a few kilometers from the spot they were in, they hit a stationary car. And unfortunately, the person who was in the stationary car unfortunately lost his life along with 1 passenger from the vehicle that was moving from Groningen to East London. So that adds even more devastation to what we have been dealing with in the Eastern Cape. It must be recorded at the same time that the accident that happened on the last day of the year was by far the worst we've experienced in the Eastern Cape since the beginning of the festive season, which is testimony to the work that we have been doing. And of course, we can't take all the credit all by ourselves. We've got to give some of it to the motorists who have conducted themselves in an exemplary manner. But unfortunately, there were accidents that were recorded, and unfortunately, in those accidents, lives were lost as well.
And it's quite encouraging to see that people largely are adhering to the rules of the road, right, and actually behaving responsibly. But let's talk about those who are still choosing to get behind the wheel drunk.
You know, those are the worst. And unfortunately, even in the accident that I've just told you about, the one that happened this morning, when we took the young man who was behind the wheel in that accident, was a driver. Unfortunately, he was way above the limit. It's testimony to the problems that we have as a province. I mean, not so long ago, we were talking about children who were being given alcohol by adults. So this problem is persistent in this city, particularly around about this time of the year. There are a lot of festivities, traditional ceremonies, where alcohol is right at the center of them. But of course, we can't pin everything to imigiti and all those things. That would be oversimplifying a very complex matter, because weekend in, weekend out, clubs are buzzing with people, and we continue to experience the problem of people consuming alcohol and getting behind the wheel. But we're proud of the work that was done by our law enforcement officers in clamping down really hard on drunk drivers. We have now crossed the 1,500 mark of people who have been arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol, and we believe that strong clampdown has had a rippling effect in the reduction of the number of crashes, and the number of fatalities and casualties has taken care of itself. But unfortunately, we have had those odd incidents where one accident has claimed nearly 10 lives, like the one we experienced on the last day of the year. But we've got to take our hats off to our law enforcement officers, both from the province, those who came in from the National Traffic Police, who had come to reinforce, as well as those who are working with us from local government level. They worked extremely hard. And I'm embarrassed to announce that even during last night's activities, as we were ushering in the new year, there were a few people who were arrested. We are still tallying up those numbers, because we are still going to work really hard. If you are watching now and you're in and around the Eastern Cape, know that our law enforcement officers will be out in full force, and they will not negotiate against anyone who is driving under the influence of alcohol.
And Unathi, this 1,500, I know you say that you're still tallying up the numbers. So is this the festive season count, just festive season alone?
Yes, it is. Since the beginning of in fact, since the beginning of December, since the 1st of December, that is an average of just over 40 people that are being arrested on daily basis for drunk driving. 40 is not a small number. It highlights the problems that we have, and not just as as a province, but as a country, of a high consumption of alcohol, and unfortunately, that is spilling over on our roads, claiming so many lives, as we have seen in the accident that has happened this morning. But we can't thank broadcasters like yourselves for giving us platforms to amplify our voices and spread the message as wide as possible of people not to get behind the wheel under the influence of alcohol, because the implications of that are really, really dire, and they are long term, because you walk out of that with a criminal record, a record that may limit your chances of getting employment in a province like ours, where we have some challenges with the employment rate. You do not want to limit your chances with something avoidable such as a drunk driving offense.
Any issues at all with long distance transportation? Because we've seen in the past with buses, for example, and taxis. Any issues there?
In terms of accidents, it seems as though they had been listening to the messages that have been spread about issues of taking regular breaks and avoiding falling fatigue and all those things, because we haven't seen many accidents involving long distance travelers. We know that we are only about to begin the second half of our Arrive Alive campaigns, and starting from this weekend, we'll see a lot of people migrating out of the rural enclaves, going into some of the major cities within the province and outside the country. So there's still going to be a lot of traveling, a lot of long distance driving, and we hope that they will keep it just as they did during the first half of the Arrive Alive campaign in the Eastern Cape, because in all honesty and in all fairness to taxi and bus operators, we haven't had many crashes that involve their vehicles, and we are quite pleased about that.
And it's good to see that largely people are listening. Unathi, thank you so much for giving us that update there. And as you say, we'll catch up with you throughout the course of the weekend to see how things are looking. But thank you so much for speaking to us. That was Eastern Cape Transport Spokesperson Unathi Binqose.